Well, hello there. I am Coach Dana Spencer, and we have the privilege of today speaking with one of our game changer graduates, Anthony Edwards. Let's welcome to him to the stage. Woo!
Yeah.
Choo, 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 choo. Anthony, how we feeling? How we feeling?
I'm feeling well. I love the makeshift band. I could take it. Let's go.
So tell the listeners, tell us a little bit about you, what you do, who you help, and let's stay right there.
All right. So once again, Anthony Edwards, hello to all. I am a coach and also administrator at a youth sports league. And on the side, definitely, I speak with high school, junior high school, and college students. And I talk to them about mental resilience, breaking through their barriers, and the reason why that is so important. We think that a lot of students just check out of school, they quit school physically, but it's well more than that. They got to check out here first. Once they check out here, everything else starts to follow. So just trying to get them back on the track of understanding the importance of why they need to stick into what they're doing, particularly with education and learning how to balance. Because as we're seeing now in so many schools, they're harping and putting more emphasis for sports and less with education because everybody's hoping that this person will become the next big thing and is going to highlight their school, highlight their neighborhood. And I've even seen families do it where they put all of this into this one child or two children and hope and pray that, yeah, you make it, we made it. And then you're going to have an issue when, you start bogging these children down. So coaching them for like over 7 years, and it's been incredible to hear what is the pressure that is on these kids. So I just always try to give them a different perspective and different alternatives to life. Like, listen, I know you want to be here, be in the NFL, be in the NBA, or whatever, but I need you to still be a kid at the same time.
Yes, that is so awesome. And kind of like what we were just recently, I went to a an athletics conference, relate to athletics conference in Nashville, Tennessee. And
Mhm.
it was my first real eye opener of the pressure of being an athlete.
Yes.
And
Yes.
with the balance, I know, like you said, you use the word balance. I try to use the word rhythm because sometimes you probably have to work harder in sports because this is the season and you're off season. So just making
Mhm.
sure that you have that right rhythm when you need to be working on
Mhm.
this versus needing to be working on that. So what do you say to those athletes to help them with this resiliency, especially when you have mom and dad, somebody that I love dearly and respect and admire,
Uh-huh.
and they're pushing, 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 pushing. And what if this is not even something I really want to do? But mom thinks I'm
Yeah.
going to be, the next whoever. I almost said somebody really old. The next whoever. Like, how is a child supposed to cope with all of that?
Well, what I always tell them, Dana, is first I ask them, "What do you like to do when the ball stops? When you finish throwing the ball, when you finish dribbling the ball?" And they, of course, boys, I like to game. All right, I've been that person. I was that kid too. And it's like, all right, what games do you like to play? And keep going down that hole until I find out, like, yo. So if I told you for today, you didn't have to come to practice, or you didn't have to go to the game today, what will you be doing? I'll be playing video games. Or like, how good are you at it? Just to get them going. And then like there was one kid, he was this one talented kid I had football one time, big kid, and this boy was just talented. And then at the end of the game, he would just sit here just like this. I said, "Hey man, you had a great game." Mm-hmm. Yo man, you scored a touchdown or two. Mm-hmm. I was like, "Yo, you're not excited?" Like, no. I got a Lego project, two Lego projects I got to do at home, so that's what I'm more. This is just what it is. But you see, it's just the fact that, as you said, when parents are coming at them, they're telling them, "Hey, look, you got to keep going and keep going," but they have a whole different thing. So I just always have to bring them, as I said, bring them to the alternative side of life. I was that kid who thought he was going to the NBA, cut class, and said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna forget school and I'm gonna go onto the ball court and I'm gonna hone my skills and I'm gonna go to the NBA." Well, you're not 6'2", Ant. You're not even close to that. That's one. Two, this is not 1972 when they could pick somebody up off the court and say, "Hey, you're going into the pros." This is not that time. And also realizing there's 2,000 other people in that park hoping and praying they're on the same with you. So a hard lesson I had to learn.
So how were you able to pivot from that? Okay, you realize, you didn't have the credentials for,
Mm-hmm.
going to the NBA. So how were you able to pivot from that, understanding, okay, this is the reality. How do I pivot from that?
First, I had to find my other gifts, and my other gifts, they just happen to be right there. And when you're in the hood, it's just, again, it's either you're going to be a ball player, a rapper, or you're going to be in the streets doing your thing. I didn't want to do
Oh,
the
that's
street
just the
thing.
three.
Yeah,
You're
that's
gonna have
that's
to
just
add
the
one.
main three.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
those
Okay.
are the main three. The main three. Okay, we can add like easily three more to that, but those are the main three. And I just got to the point like I didn't want to do the street thing because like I got in trouble, rolling with people, and what's family is not really family. It's everybody's family until somebody gets caught, or when the cops come up and say up against the wall, you don't have family no more like you think. And I've watched
Mm.
people who got locked up and all these people who's with them and everything, they never came to go and visit them, never came to put no money on the books or nothing. They left them. Doing the rapping thing, I was not a rapper. I used to just do beats on the desk with my boy. I definitely was not a rapper. Um, and then the sports thing, when that didn't work, I was like, all right, what do I want to do? And music was something I enjoyed doing. And that's when I started getting into music engineering. And I did not. It just so happened to get into it when I was at my church growing up, and they had a engineering board, and I'm just playing with the music, live music, and I'm playing with it, and I'm like, "What is this?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, you're an engineer." I'm like, "I like this. I really like this," and that's when I was just got so caught up into doing it. But that's when I realized there was so much more that went into it. You're not gonna just be this producer and you blow up. No, there's so much more that went into that. And again, I was not that focused into it as I thought I was later on in life. But that was where I had to pivot to find something that I really enjoyed doing. Music was definitely one of it.
So how do you figure that out? So you were able to just happen to be at your church playing around. For
Yes.
the kid that is, you know, gaming, how do
Hmm.
you figure out what your God-given gifts, talents really are? How do you do that?
Well, I tell with kids, I tell them, hey, look, I understand that you feel gaming is the God given gift. There's only, as I was looking at it, there's literally only like a 2% that are masters at it, that they spend 8 to 10 hours gaming. The average kid today spend anywhere between 4 to 6. I'm like 4 to 6. Back in growing up, 2 hours was enough for us, and then we went outside and we stayed outside for 6 to 8 hours until somebody said get in the house. But
Right. So the street lights came
I
on, right?
what sometimes you didn't come into that until mom came outside and said, hey, I need you in the house. So and that was just what it was. And I will tell them that why is it that you really enjoy it? And the crazy thing is, Dana, when I ask a lot of those kids, why do you want to be a gamer? The only thing I hear is because I like playing games. No kidding. Just like, okay, but why do you want this? And I have to push them to a different level. I say, hey, listen, how about you be the one I said, do you like computers? Yeah. I said, all right. So what do you know about it? I said, you play Fortnite? Yeah, I could create this and create this. I said, okay, so how about you do this thing where you play the game, you can create the stuff in your thing. So why don't you create the game and then you can sell the game? So it's like, and I have to always give them that. And they're like, but again, because their exposure, they didn't think black people do that. And I said, no, it's possible. And I said, you can just go ahead and look to see where you are. What type of games do you love? Do you love adventure games? Do you like mystery games? Those type of things that are what it is. For me, back in the day, it was Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. That's what we loved. Now these kids are going into more complex games and seeing what VR is now taking over. And of course, AI is now the thing. Sooner or later, you're going to be implemented into the game. It's no longer you're going to need a controller. You're going to be right in the game where you can feel and all that stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of companies right now that's working on it. And I saw one that was looking at it possibly in another 10 years or so. And I said, oh crap, this is going to be the new gaming. I think I might get one, but I said, this is going to be crazy. So I have to always give them other avenues to look at so they don't feel, because I was that kid when the music thing didn't work out due to the fact that where we were living in our home and our house got broken into, and I saved up all this money for my equipment and everything. It was all gone. All my money was completely gone, over $1,000, and I was lost. I was just that lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I felt that was life. That was it. So that's why I just shut down completely from life for about 2 years due to the fact of that. So that's why I try to give them the importance, pivoting. Don't ever just sit. Pivot to something else that you love to do.
So you said one thing, obviously you said a lot of things, but one of the things that I want to unpack a little bit more is exposure. Like, and we've heard it, your level of exposure determines your altitude. Why is it so important for us? Because even in real estate, I was watching the video, I saw a Black female general contractor. And even when I saw that, I was like, oh, wow, I didn't know that there were Black female general contractors. Like, I have to meet her. Why is it so important for us to see it?
Well, it's important for us to see it because that's where the mind starts to go. The mind starts to pick up. And I remember growing up when my very first profession I wanted to be was a doctor. And it came from my pediatrician. And I said, oh, I wasn't used to that. I was used to seeing white doctors, white male, white female doctors, particularly white male doctors. And my doctor, she was from Africa. And I said, I want to be a doctor like you. And she said, well, you're going to have to go to school. Okay. But that's where the exposure came. And that was the only Black doctor I ever saw in my life. I never saw anybody else until, honestly, when I became a teenager and I saw, oh, wow, there's a Black doctor here. There's more Black doctors. I didn't think of that. So why it's so very important is that you're able to open your mind, just as you and I said earlier. We think these are the 3 things in the hood or 5 or 6 things in the hood, and that's it. But when you are able to open your mind, you see, nah, there's more to it than just this. There's more to it than just that. Compared to now, not too long ago, we just finally saw our very first 4-star general inducted into the military. I think it was the Army or Marines, first ever. So just imagine which other kid can go there and see that and be like, yo, I can be the next one, because they're being exposed to these things. And it's so important. You got to get your kid out. You got to get out your neighborhood. And it's sad that even in today, in this year of the 21st century, still kids have not left their neighbor. Parents, grown-ups haven't even left from where they are. They haven't even moved from, not even boarded a plane or a train or a bus to go somewhere. They stay in 3 states that they go to, and that's it. Anything else outside of that is kind of a new thing for them.
So tell us about your program. You said you have a program that works with athletes.
Yes, I9 Sports, been with them for a while, and I started out as a coach and enjoy being with them. And I've I've worked with kids for so long in my life, over 20 years of my life. So that's supposed to tell you a little of my age, but I've worked with them for so long. And every single year, I'm done with these gremlins. I don't want to be bothered with them. May fire and brimstone fall on every last one of them. But I don't know, like from summer schools and all that stuff I work with. And then every year is like, you know what switches me up, Dana, to be honest with you, is just that when I see that 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old who got their pants down to their knees, who got, they're just wandering in the streets, and it's like they don't have anyone to guide them. And let's call it what it is. When you see the parent who's there, you're like, wait, did you really say this to your child? And that just gets me. It's like, all right, yo, you got to go back out there. You got to go. So I've been doing that, and then did coaching, and moved on to other things within the company, and just enjoy being with them. It's gotten more tedious now, more challenging now, more than ever. Now you're seeing as you mentioned earlier, the pressure that these parents are putting on kids. I've been given opportunities to coach AAU and all that. Didn't want to do it because that little league that I'm in, that's nothing compared to AAU. AAU is a different thing. These people are dropping 1,500, 2 G's just to do a traveling team. And I've seen some disgusting stuff that happens, from referees getting assaulted, coaches getting in fights, and everything else in between. So I'm like, nah, I don't want to deal with that. I'm fine.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah,
I
because
like the look.
so yeah, I'm just dumbfounded because I've taught, Sunday school for 15 plus years easily.
Right.
And last year and year before last in particular, I was just, investing in some young ladies with, taking them to a volleyball camp, this and the other. And I felt like the parents were working against me, right? And so I was like, well, maybe I need to teach an adult class so that I can start at the top instead of trying to have an impact on these teenagers' lives. And
Absolutely.
so started the single moms class, and it's been going for about a year. But to your point, it's just something about if you have a desire to work with teenagers, it's just like always there. So now I'm trying to figure
Yeah.
out, like, how can I get my my teenager fix, if you will? Because
Right.
do you believe that, just working with teenagers is just something that God just puts in your spirit? Because some people don't like teenagers, and since we do, is it one of those things that it just won't go away? Like, how do we deal with it?
It's challenging, but like I told someone one time, you gotta get to their language, you gotta get to their level without dumbing it down too much, and also not losing you in the sense. So I get to them. With boys, I work with them for so long. I already know I'm gonna get one word answers. Um, I may even be blessed with a 5 word answer. Hey, how was your day? Oh, it was cool, man. Great. Oh my God, he spoke more than 2 words. But yeah, I'm just used to who I. So I'm used to that. But when you're able to just get to that level, that's where they may open up to you. And you're right. And I like the point you brought. You really got to battle the parents, because I've had to deal with the parents. Hey, look, can you please be around my child, speak to them, blah blah blah. No problem, I got you. Oh no, but don't say that. Don't speak this. And I'm like, but you're asking me to be with your child, mentor them, but you're giving them something totally antithesis to what I'm telling them. And it just starts breaking down what I'm saying. I'm like, hey, look, how about you give yourself 30 minutes to study? Oh, you don't need to be studying that much. And you're like, oh my God. So now baby boy or baby girl comes in, they're failing, and mom doesn't get it. And then it's like, oh, can you say something to them? I'm trying, but you're working against me. So, and what they don't understand is you're going to confuse the child. And who's the child going to listen to? Mom, dad. Why? Because they live with them. They listen to you. It's either if you had that child's going to listen to you outside their parents, that means that child is on a whole different mental level. They know something is wrong, and they can pick up. All right, what mom or dad tell me, that doesn't make sense. What this person is telling me, what Dana is telling me, I'm going to go with it. So I've understood that. And don't get me wrong, it's still much more difficult today than it ever was then. Then as a teenager growing up, it was easy. You're in the 90s, it was easy. You just did your typical thing. Now it's so many stuff. Of course, social media is big with it. Where these kids, they can sit there for hours and just do this for hours, and you're like, oh my God. And God knows what they're watching, what they're listening to, from somebody just getting slapped to somebody getting punched. And then the worst part, when you got mom and dad watching it with them or following them, and they're laughing along with them, you're like, you just know what your child's laughing at. Your child just laughed at somebody who got ran over in a fight, and you're laughing with them. So it's like, these things you gotta clear up and try to work on, but it's a never ending work, never ending.
Yeah, I was this is making me think about from a single mom's perspective, the mom who wants to nurture her child and doesn't
Mhm.
want the coach to yell at him,
Right.
and we are and letting him game for hours on end.
Mhm.
How do you help the single mom to realize, hey, you know what, your child as a young man needs the influence of another man, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's tricky, and I'll be the first to admit, like I was telling Dara, is that when I 20 years ago, I'm a single black mom, I got it going on, this, that, and the other. I can be the mom and the dad. I don't need him, this, that, and the other. But fast forward till now, I realize, hey, we're doing our children a disservice by excluding the father from our children's lives. So how do we help moms to realize, okay, even if it's not their biological father, the importance of having that male role model in their lives?
Dana, you said exactly what I was praying you would have said. You said, I don't need him. I got it going on. I hear that so many times. And I've heard it from many, many mothers. I don't need him. I don't need. And believe me, it doesn't even matter if you're black, if it's white, or Latino, but more so black mothers. And I just did an episode on my podcast for Father's Day, and I do this every year where I highlight fathers to speak about their their experience as in fatherhood, because there's a narrative to push men out the way, like we don't matter, we're just sperm donors. And I refuse to ever believe that, because as I hear women say, oh yeah, I can teach him how to. You can't teach a boy how to be a man. And this is what I've seen so many times when you have mothers who have kids at a young age, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, of course you can nurture him. You want to know why? He's a baby, and he's still gonna be under your breast as a suckling until when now he starts feeling himself and he starts getting a little hair in places that he didn't believe, and then his voice got deep, and then now he just want to start feeling going to that level. And we get this all the time. That's when the mother starts scrambling. Oh, can you help me? Can you help? Oh, can you be in his life? Can you be? But don't say this. But don't do that. You can't tell me as a man how not to get to another boy, because I understand. Yes, one thing I've told people, and I've said this to someone before, with kids, particularly boys, they need three things: love, structure, and discipline. Those are the three things boys need. Why do they need structure? They need to understand, hey, look, at a certain time, you got to do this. There's homework. There's this. There's chores you got to do. Then there's discipline. Why you need to discipline them? Because as my mother used to tell me, you either want me to do it or you want the police to do it, whichever one you want. And I can go even further. I've told that to mother. I says, either you want me to discipline them or you want the streets to do it. And I promise you, the streets are not going to be as forgiving as I am. And then, of course, there's love. Every child needs that love. And that's what I realized a lot of kids don't get. They don't get proper love in the house. They don't get that proper attention. And it's like, because again, as a single mom, you know what it is. Like you're trying to juggle so many plates and do this, and at the same time tame a tiger, and at the same time make sure that the roof don't cave in. So you're doing all that like this and trying to make it. But it's just that, and the whole thing, yeah, you're doing all that, and while you're juggling and trying to do all that, you're trying not to make it fall on your child or children. So it's like, all right, if while I'm doing that, let me at least put my child over to someone who's able to, particularly the boys, to give them the understanding, hey, look, this is as you're coming into manhood. I didn't learn about manhood until I was about 17, 18, just the start of it. Um, did I wish I had my father to show me that stuff? Absolutely. But how could he teach me when he wasn't too much of a man himself to learn these things? So when I started being taught, hey, look, when you're going out with a young lady, you open the door for her. That was news to me. I used to open the door and walk in ahead of a woman and let it slam in her face. I didn't know this stuff. So it took me some time to understand these things. And it was like just letting these guys know, particularly for a lot of black boys, how to control themselves. Like not this whole emotional intelligence everybody's using now, but how to control their emotions in certain things, because they snap so fast for every little thing. And the reason why, this is what they see at home. They see mom snap on dad, dad snap on mom. They see everybody in a home. If there's nothing but women in there, they're snapping at each other. So they see the same thing. And I remember I had a friend of mine, she taught at a school, and it was a boy. She used to get so like irritated with this kid because he would just be there and he would just yell every time he talked. And he's like, literally, like if you sit right next to you, he will yell. And she said, "Why are you yelling? Why are you so loud every time you talk?" And he said, "Because nobody hears me at home." And
Um,
I was like, she said, "Are you kidding me?" She said, "Aunt, can you believe what I heard?" I said, "Well, that means is everybody's talking and they're either ignoring him or they're telling him go to your room. So now he's
mhm.
in a space where somebody can listen to him. Now this is all he knows because that's all he hears in the home is elevated voices. So he brings it in the classroom too."
Wow. So you mentioned a podcast. So tell me about this podcast that you have.
Well, I have a podcast called Keeping the Towel. Don't worry, you're gonna get on. I'm gonna get you on there. It's called Keeping the Towel. And I've been doing this for about 3.5 years. And
Wow. Good.
I
Yay. Show him some love.
yeah,
Some hearts out there. That's awesome.
so I just decided one day, I wanted to, and this is like when podcasting was now starting to become the thing for everybody. And I was like, I want to do one, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to do sports. I didn't want to talk on relationships because I can debate and argue sports with anybody. That's easy. I can talk about stats and all that. I didn't want to do relationships because I'm just going to call it what it is. A lot of people don't know what the hell they're talking about. They just say, this is how a relationship works, and this is how a relationship works, and none of them work. They're just telling you. So like 90% of the stuff they're gonna tell you is not real. So whatever. So I didn't want to do that. But I just said, what is it where I can go at? And I realized one night, Dana, it was like I was just sitting up, and it's so often time for me when a lot of stuff hit me at night, and I was just there, and it was just like hope. People need hope. In the day, in the times we're in, people need hope. And I was like, well, I don't know how to give hope. I'm not a preacher. And it's like, and it was like, but you've been speaking. You've been speaking since you were 16. Just open your mouth. I got you. Just open your mouth. And when I decided to do it, I was like, all right, this is what it is. It's an inspiring, it's encouraging, it's type of podcast. And I had no clue what was going to happen with it, but it has grown and it's continuously growing, to get men, women on there just to talk about what they've dealt with or what they're still dealing with now. I love to hear it. Is allow people to be real. And as I said, one of my favorite ones is just to do this Father's Day stuff. It's a program that I do where I just have these fathers just come on. And first I started with 3 dads. Now I got this year I had up to 6 dads who came on, and I almost had 8 fathers who came on, but I can't have 8 dads on because it's just too much. So it's on all listening platforms, Google, Spotify, of course, definitely Spotify, and SoundCloud, all of them. They're all there. So Keeping the Towel podcast, you'll know all about it. So that's why I am still doing it, and I enjoy it till this day.
Oh man, that's awesome. I can't wait to get my invitation. So that kudos to that. Cause yeah,
Ready?
I do have a couple things to share. Especially from a mom's perspective and my son is 30. So there's some light bulb moments that I realized that I wish I knew when I was in my 20s. So definitely have some things to share. So what's next for
Mhm.
you? You've been speaking and you got a
Yes.
podcast. What's
Yes.
next?
Next is just to continue to grow my speaking business, is like just things that I've been doing it. Then I'm sure as you've gotten is like you learn so many other things. You're like, oh wow, I did not know this. I didn't know that. And to be crazy with you, Dana, is like when I first wanted to do it, it was something that I have put off for decades. For 2 decades, I put it off because I said, no, that's not for me. Only preachers can do that. That's only for preachers. That's all who I saw. I never saw anybody else outside of that. And of course, I've always saw Les Brown and others, but I just said, nah, I never wanted to do it. But now being able to get there, I've spoken at teachers conferences. I got another youth conference that's going to be coming up. I think later this month I'm going to be going there. So just filling out and meeting with people right now, on the verge of getting with some schools, because again, schools be opening pretty soon, and connecting with them. So it's more of a challenge at times, because when they hear like a guy is like, and what do you do? And I tell them, they're like, oh, some like, nah, we don't need that. Others be like, yes, we need you like now. So like yesterday now. So I'm like, all right, let's start working. But I've been given and asked the one thing, like, oh man, but we don't have this, we don't have that. I said, look, let's not worry about that. Let's try to get your students where they are. And when I asked that question, like, yo, what's the issues you're having? And they're saying, yo, the one major thing I always hear, they have checked out. They have checked out in class. They don't care. It's like you're telling them to get off their phone, so and so, and it's so hard because like I went to one school one time, and I was talking to the teacher there. He just showed me his students' work, and he said, "Oh, this is what this kid used to." And the kid was sitting next to me, and he said, he improved greatly. And I said, "Oh yeah." And he showed me what his work used to look like. He said this boy, he couldn't read or write, and when he showed me his work, man, the proof was in the pudding. Like I said, this kid, this kid was like this. He's like, I mean, Dana, when I tell you simple words he couldn't spell, simple things he couldn't write out. And he was like, yeah, this is how he was. But it was just the fact that he worked with them to the point, like, now these kids are now coming up to par, but it's still so much work. And so that's why when I get that opportunity to go and speak with them, the next thing that I've been on at this time is just trying to go to colleges now. That becomes a little bit more tedious because, again, you're dealing with college students, and when the college administrators want to see, who are you, why are you coming, what are you going to tell these college students that we haven't told them, or what's going to get at them, that you got to understand these are not high school kids, which I know, but I just always have to remind them, like, yeah, you're coming at them from a educator, from a teacher, but you get someone who's on that level with them, like, yo, I know what it's like to almost be on academic probation or be on academic probation. I know what it was like. So just to get to that level with them. So that's what I've been doing thus far, and it's constantly growing, constantly growing.
So two different things hit my head, and I have to say them both. And I feel like you'll do a better job of being able to remember how to take these two different paths. So one thing, as far as like your business aspect, realizing that speaking and the direction that you're going in, it's a business. And I'll be
Yes.
honest, I didn't really realize that it is a business, and a business needs strategy, and I've never done a business before, and so many unknowns as far
Yes.
as, okay, if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have a business plan, if you don't know where you want this to go, then it's not
Mhm.
going there, right? So
Yes.
I want you to talk a little bit about the importance of having a strategy and recognizing that this is a business and we have to treat it like a business, and put some serious thought into how we get to where we're trying to go. And then
Right.
something completely different, but I'm putting it out there, is so in the school system, I was just listening to a podcast this morning, and they were talking about, 20 years ago, people might want to be lawyers and doctors and accountants and all these different things. But now, if you go into schools, the number one thing that kids are saying is they want to be a content creator, they want to be a YouTuber or a gamer. So, is there a need for at the high school level to start introducing entrepreneurship as well as, content creation? Do we need to start thinking about having something in that lane at the high school level? So you can pick whichever one you want to go to first.
I would speak on that with the content creation, because that is the hottest thing right now. Everybody and their mother is a YouTuber, or they're a Twitch or whatever it is they are out there, or IG content creator. I will definitely say yes, you can introduce it to them in high school. In junior high, it's crazy that these kids at the age of 11, 12, 13, they know how to create better content than you and I. And you're like, but what are you doing? And it's like, they're not doing anything. They're just there. hey, so this is a watermelon and I didn't feel like eating it. And then I threw it at my sister and it got 500,000 views. And so now with in high school, where can they go with that? What can you do with it? What will be better? And where you can push that is going to be very, very key. But at the same time, Dana, we got to understand a lot a lot of kids don't want that because they just care about one thing: views. Two things, excuse me: views and subscribers. How many of those do I have? Do I have more subscribers than views? Do I have more views than subscribers? And now we're seeing a lot of people do some crazy things like, all right, this one only had 50 views, this one only had 100 views. I got to do something a little bit more. So they go to the place where they go a little bit more extreme to get those views or to get whatever it is, even if that means not even just doing actions, but just saying words. Like there's a young lady, I'm not gonna say who she is, but she brought her content, and this girl, I mean, Dana, like every third word is F or B. That's it. And I'm like, what do you? And I'm listening. I'm just like, and I'm looking at the views. This girl got like 4,000 views, and I was like, what are you saying? Like, she's not saying nothing. Only thing she's talking about, I will beat a bee behind if the bee come at me, and I will F and F and F. And I'm like, but that's what's getting them. And again, what I said to you earlier, when you got that high school kid, junior high school kid, and this is all they're doing, this is all, that's why it's called a feed. It's just feeding them. So there's just like this the whole time, and they're taking it in. And once they could giggle a little, that's gonna get them a like. That's gonna get them whatever it is. So just to explain to them, yo, yes, you want to be a content creator, cool. Understand this thing is oversaturated with people. What's gonna make you stand out from everybody else? And some go when they're the gamers and everything. They're the ones who just show I can destroy anybody, or they give them tips and tricks on the games and everything. And then you have others like they just like to excoriate other gamers, like they just curse them out, and they're the ones who get, they get the millions of views and millions of followers. Now, with treating your speaking business as a business, I think that's something that a lot of people tend to mistake. They just look at it, oh, I just want to be famous. No, same thing like content creators. I just want to be famous. And it's like, famous for what? And as when we were in the program, that's what was always told to us. What do you do? What are you about? So if you're just gonna say, I just speak about what? Like not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, I went to the Next Level Speakers conference, Jeremy Anderson. Great, incredible. And then they had this lady, Jessica Lundy. She went up there and she said, if I can bring anybody up here right now, and I said to you, I need you to speak. Can you do it? Over like 90% of people said, yes, me. I stayed quiet. I said, I was like one of the few, nope. And thank God, through Game Changers, we understood, like, no. And then they was like, yeah. So then she said to everybody, good, I'm glad you said that. None of you are ready to get up here. She shut them down. None of you ready to get up here. She said, because if you come up here, what are you going to talk about? So if you're speaking, if you're about real estate, you're going to tell me about holistic foods. You don't know what you're talking about. If I'm speaking about holistic foods and I come to a real estate conference, like, all right, y'all, think of getting your next commercial building like that great organic apple and orange juice at the same time. What are you talking about? So, that's what she was talking about. And I looked at that, how much this thing, you got to really have the right strategy, put things in order. Yes, you're going to have the fails. Yes, you're going to have trial and errors. You're supposed to have trial and errors. However, you get in certain groups, like, all right, what did you do? What didn't you do? And if you're willing to put that investment in yourself, that's when you'll be able to dictate correctly where you want things to go. Is it always going to be 100%? No. I'm sure, as you know, it's not going to be 100%. Some things like, all right, well, this didn't work. Next, let me go here. Next, let me go there. You went to a athletic conference. You're in real estate. How'd you end up there? God knows who you met there that you can help out. That some parent like, yeah, well, we're about to be moving to blah 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 because my child is going there to play ball. Hey, look, I can help you get a home there. So it's like these things that you got to be able to put the right things in play. And as I had to do with myself, I was looking at my website. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to have to revamp it. all right. I mean, I had to get my ego out the door. I had to
Mm.
remove my ego, just like what we were told when we first started. Look, the ego don't live here, and my ego did live there. I was like, oh man, nobody's this, nobody's that. Well, you're gonna have to move it. Just shift it so something else can come into play on what you're doing. So yeah, having that strategy is so important. From minute to the big stuff. And yes, it's okay to think big, but just know where, little by little, what is it that you want to do and everything. So no, I didn't have a program and anything yet, because the last thing I want to do is say, oh, I got a program. But if mom Dana Spencer is there and she said, okay, well, yeah, I got a kid. What your program is about? Is about telling him he's a great guy. Okay, you know what? I can go get Barack Obama's book for that one. So there that went. That was just a waste of time. So those are things that I've learned you got to have in place.
Well, and I'm gonna just for
Mhm.
fun because it's always
Absolutely.
better to like disagree with one because I'm gonna
Absolutely.
disagree. I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit on that one.
Please. Please.
I'm gonna disagree with you because how long have you been working with youth?
For what, 20 years? Over 20 years?
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
20 years you have been working with
Mm-hmm.
youth.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you don't have a formalized program,
Right.
you can pretty much, if somebody were to say, you know what, Anthony, I'm going to give you $1 million to transform these 10 young men.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you come up with a program
Oh, it's easy. Yeah,
on the
it's simple.
fly. So
Mm-hmm.
my point in saying that is the program is in you. The
Mm-hmm.
program is you've been working with teenagers for 20 years and you know how to get a result. You
Yeah.
have a program.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, and here's the thing with the behavioral preferences, some people spend a lot of time on the details and creating the program.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other side of things is let me get the people and I'll figure it out as I go.
Mm.
Once I have these 10 young men, all right, this is what week 1 looks like. Okay, need to tweak this. This is what week 2 looks like. So
Right.
you're as you're living with them and as you are moving and shaking with them, then you just start to document it. And now you have a 12-week program. It just depends on how you view things. So I definitely want you to create, a 12-week program so that these schools that are coming at you, that's what they're going to want to see
Mm-hmm.
what you can deliver because you already have the proof. You've already
Right.
worked with a ton of teenagers. You already have the proof. You could get the testimonials from the moms and the children. You already have the proof. You're just going to be able to hand them something in a brochure or in a pamphlet so that they can be like, "Oh, this is what we can take to the decision makers, the people who write the check so they can
Right.
write you a check."
Yep. And that's something, as I said, when I look at making the program, the one thing I always look at is efficiency. That's the one thing I always look at when you're making those programs, because as I've learned and seen others who have their various programs, I'm like, what does this have? What is this? Where does this really take where does this take your group or your niche? And it's like, where's it taking them? And it doesn't. Some of them don't have anything. It's just like, oh yeah, just buy it. And I'm like, nah, I can't. I'm not that type of person. I'm not that one to just tell somebody buy whatever. So I've looked at certain programs that I can say, all right, well, if I'm going to junior high school, because that's going to be the easiest one, because they're hard to keep in that attention span. Where's that I want to get with them? And then going into high school students. And of course, could I go to the athletics? Yes, but I want to is for me, I just rather get to the freshmen and the sophomores, because again, when they're coming in from junior high and coming into high school is a total different world shift. And then now going into the juniors and the seniors. But those are things that as I've said, I've looked at working with people who have some type of experience in it, so I know where I want to go when it comes to that. Because the last thing I want to do is just have a program and then the program doesn't really mean much. So I just want to have a program that will be of efficiency. So I definitely would take your devil advocate viewpoints into play.
Yeah, I think you just need to document what you've done because you already have the proof. Because,
Yes.
like you said, your concern is because you've seen it. You've seen people who create programs and don't get results. You've got results with no program. So all you have to
Right.
do is document what you did and now and just tack in, oh, this is the person who got the results. This is what we did.
Right. Yep. 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 Absolutely.
So the
Absolutely.
other thing I want to ask you, because you said when you were talking about the young people with the views and the subscribers, does nobody want to make money? Nobody wants to make money?
That's again, it depends on the person. It depends just what you said earlier. The behavioral. If that you got some kids who are just entrepreneur minded, and then you got some they don't care about that. Today it's all about being viral, and from there, that's when they can move on. I think what there was this one kid, he had the most subscribers and views on YouTube, and it was his parents that set him up, and all they did was record him just playing with toys, and there was Lego, this Tonka, all these companies started giving him toys to test out, and then it was like, so what do you think about it? I like it because and he give them detail. So then he ended up having his own little children's show, and it was an Asian family, and he had his own children's show because of that. And today now is like it depends on the kid. If the kid is all about, hey, look, I just want to be viral, that's all that's gonna matter to them. Then if you got those who understand, like, yo, there's this thing where these companies will run ads on your channel. They want to be able to run other things on your channel. And can you draw these group of people to our gaming system? Because again, they don't. Everybody think is like they're just playing on a PlayStation or Xbox. No, they're playing on their computer. So it's like, yo, hey, draw us to the X4 gaming system is the fastest gaming system on the planet, and use my code to get blah blah blah. So those are things that some will use, but again, it depends on the person's mindset. That kid, if they're willing to go there, but the biggest thing a lot of them care more about is just being viral, that it can brag that I got more followers than you, and that some it works for. The very very small few it doesn't work for. They're like, nah, I want to get paid from this. So it depends. It really depends.
So if there's a mother out there who's struggling with getting her kid, she's in a hopeless situation. There's a kid out there who is like, man, that Anthony, I feel like he can help me. So how can the people out there find you and follow you? Where are you at?
Well, I would tell to the mother who's feeling that she needs that help, Mom, you can't do it by yourself. I tell that to so many mothers. You cannot do this by yourself. Just like I tell any man when I speak to men, you can't do this by yourself. I was that one person. I thought I can do everything by myself. You can't. So if you want to catch at me, just go ahead and get me at ikeptmytowel@gmail.com, or go to my website, ikeptmytowel.com, and you'll be able to check all about who I am and where to get me and everything. And yes, I do one-on-ones, and yes, I do consultations. So yes, I do both of them. But I've done mentorship for so long, and some was legit, meaning it's like, boys and girls and big brothers and all that stuff, and others was just off the fly, just a bunch of kids who I just got around and just started mentoring them, and you're hanging out with them. So those are the things I've done. So yes, if you want to catch at me, I'll put that out there again. So ikeptmytowel.com, and also ikeptmytowel@gmail.com. Anthony Edwards, just get at me.
So tell me what that means. I kept my towel, because I'm be honest, I'm like, what? Is this the right? Am I seeing this right? My eyes, I'm in my fives. Am I seeing
it? So I kept my towel. It's, as I tell people in the fight game, boxing, MMA, any fight game, whenever the trainer throws in the towel, that's telling the referee they quit the fight. So, and you always hear somebody say, yeah, you're about to throw in the towel. I'm about to throw in the towel. So that's why I just let people know, when you keep your towel, you're letting life know, you're letting yourself know you got more left for another round in this fight called life. And I tell people, life is more of a fight. It can be a mountain, a race, but it's more of a fight, because life gives you the best low blows. And I'm sure, Dana, you know about them. And you'll be like, okay, I didn't see that hit coming, but yeah, it's going to come. So that's why keeping the towel, it's where it's at.
I love that. That is so powerful. That's amazing. I'm glad I asked you what that all meant. So to sum up this entire conversation, what would be the one thing that you want the listeners to walk away from? Just the one nugget that you would want them to walk away with.
You can either choose to get disqualified from life, or you can choose to go ahead and fight another round with life. It's not going to be easy, but it is worth it in the end if you want to be the one to be held up as victor. You have the choice. So that's what I always tell them.
Nice. Well, he just dropped the mic on you. So thank you so much, Anthony. It's been a pleasure having conversations with you. And I do expect my invitation to the Hope.
Coming.
And
Coming.
so it was so amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Don't forget, ikeptmytowel.com. Follow him. Get your child that mentor that he or she needs so that they can have hope and go to the next level. Until next time, peace out.
Later, y'all.